do it live.
Tonight on the Movie of the Week.
May I introduce myself? My name is Kolchak of the Daily Chronicle.
Kolchak reports the bizarre, the supernatural, the unexplainable.
You again in another crazy story.
This nut thinks he is a vampire.
You know what I call that? Irresponsible yellow journalism.
He has killed 4, maybe 5 women. I saw that so-called super killer wipe up the streets with your so-called police force.
They don't want any help from amateur bloodhounds like you.
I've been a reporter for 22 years.
I've been a police officer for 30.
Well, then why don't you retire?
Each man in the field is issued one of these, and one of these.
Are you suggesting that we pound one of these into Skorzeny's chest?
No, into his heart.
Darren McGavin, the Night Stalker.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Cinematic Lounge. We got a special guest today, my old buddy Sean Paul Murphy from the original Yippee-Ki-Yay Mother podcast.
Yes.
But before that, Maria's not going to join us on this one. Sean and I are going to discuss The Night Stalker, starring Darren McGavin. That one.
That guy.
Obviously, that's why I'm wearing the hat. So Maria had to create a drink for this.
Right.
And Maria, what's the drink?
Well, I was trying to approximate, because it's about vampires, so I was trying to approximate like blood again. So this is a pomegranate martini.
Okay.
So it is vodka, Cointreau, and pomegranate juice.
All
Shaken,
right.
but not stirred.
Seriously.
Okay,
you're the only one that's going to drink that. By the way,
so you want?
Yeah, why don't you do a little taste test? It looks good.
It is actually
How'd
really
it taste? Good.
It's good. It's a little sweet, but good.
All right. Well, now Sean Paul Murphy's out in the green room.
Hey.
So Maria, thank you.
You are welcome.
Now we're going to
enjoy.
Sean in. Yeah. Come on in, Sean.
Thank you, Maria.
You are welcome, Sean.
I've arrived from the green room. That's another movie we should talk about.
The Green Room's a good movie.
Yeah.
Did you ever see Blue Ruin? His first one?
No.
Oh, it's pretty good too.
I saw The Ruins, but I think that was a different movie.
Yeah, not The Ruins. Okay, look at you with your bright hat. It looks good.
Yeah, I decided to go bright.
You did. Well, welcome. This is the first time at the lounge.
Nice to have you at the lounge.
Nice to have you at the lounge.
Yeah.
Nice to meet me at the lounge. Yeah, this kind of harkens back to what we did originally.
Yeah, except we had better
A
microphones.
little better microphones, but we were talking across a pool table at that time.
Yeah.
I'm about 9 years ago.
Yeah,
What's
quite
it been?
a while.
It's been a while, right? And I wanted to get back to this, which is talking directly to each other and interrupting and overlapping, and who cares, because you can overlap. So I'm glad you're here. So welcome.
I'm glad to be here.
This is the last in our series of Halloween.
Oh, damn.
Well, that's obviously, I got this. This is very on the nose with this Michael Myers mask here.
Yeah.
Hanging there.
Am I really that fat?
Television adds about 40 pounds.
Oh, I thought it added all.
If you want, I can compress if you need.
Yeah.
So let me know.
Compress it to standard. That should knock off quite a few pounds.
Yeah. We'll do 4x3.
Yeah.
Or maybe stretch it out. Anamorphic.
Yeah.
I'll do anamorphic. So how's your Halloween horror movie thing going? I know you guys just did Jaws, which isn't really a horror movie, by the way.
No, I will say that Jaws is not a horror movie. I
think you actually said that in the show, man.
And also I said that in a series of blogs. I wrote the 10 best horror films from each decade.
Right.
And I said I do not consider films like Jaws, which are just large animal movies. Yeah. And I also don't think like Silence of the Lambs is a horror movie. That's just a crime film.
Right. I wouldn't consider Silence horror movie as well. I think you're right about that one. Jaws definitely not a horror movie.
Jaws 3 might be.
It's horrible.
No. I mean, in the sense that it's not just a shark. Or Jaws 4, The Revenge. Because suddenly it's an animal that's seeking revenge on people that people know, because the shark that had an affair, that knew those people, had an involvement with them, was dead.
But it did see the flashbacks that was going on in her head. So that's how it knew. Here, let me move this for you.
Do they even think like that?
Who's they?
Sharks.
I doubt it. That shark swam from Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, supposedly, to the Bahamas.
Yeah.
In a day.
And it smelt them, I guess.
Or something.
They do have a strong sense of smell.
Okay. That's okay. True. All right, so we're going to talk about The Night Stalker.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite films of all time.
This was a movie of the week.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, when I watched it on YouTube, I got the movie of the week feed. So it actually it didn't have commercials, but it had the breaks where it broke.
Oh, okay. It didn't have the commercials. That's
no. But I've also watched it. There's a YouTube show called Creature Feature. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Where they're dressed up in weird costumes and they talk about the films they're doing. It's like what Joe does, the Drive-In Joe guy. Who's that guy?
Joe Bob Briggs.
They do kind of the same thing. And they did a whole special on this one where they had somebody who might have worked on the film. I don't know if he was an author or assistant director, but he was given little snippets about the making of this film. Do you know, are you immersed in the information of this film?
Yeah, I'm pretty
why don't you talk
immersed in it.
It came out in 1972, movie of the week.
Yeah, it had a 52 share. Now, I want to say
three channels, remember?
Yeah, there were 3 channels. Right. No, there were more. There were UHF channels.
Okay.
But let us just say, you and I been in the television business. Have you ever done a show that had a 52 share?
I don't think so.
I don't think that, other than the Super Bowl,
right?
I don't think there is a show that has a 52 share.
And did this?
Now.
I don't remember. I was a kid, of course.
I saw this when I was a
I did
kid.
too.
Yeah.
I saw it. I watched it when
first
it came
night.
out. Okay,
yeah, first night.
Scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, it was an amazing film.
Now you watch it now, and it's like, what the hell's
to me, I like it even more now. It's not scary, but
it's kitschy in a good way.
Yeah,
I mean, it's in a good way, and it's earnest. It's earnest in a good way.
Yeah,
that you couldn't get away with now. The cynicism is too high right now. That a movie like this wouldn't.
Not that Kolchak wasn't a cynical person himself.
He's very cynical. So give us a little backstory on the film.
Okay,
if you know
so
anything, who wrote it?
Okay, so it was based. Now this I only really got to the bottom of recently, because it's very odd to have a credit that says based on an unpublished novel by Jeff Rice.
Okay.
Because they would say story by Jeff Rice or based on a book by Jeff Rice, but based on an unpublished novel. So depending when you want to start it, Jeff Rice was a reporter. He worked on a Las Vegas newspaper, much like this, and he based a lot of the characters on real people he met at that time. And he eventually left journalism, became an ad guy, a man after my own heart. And he wrote this novel. And he had a friend of a friend of a friend who was an agent, and he sent it to the agent. And the agent's like, "Look, we could probably get this made." It was apparently a knockout novel. I'm surprised it was never published. There must be some reason why, and I don't know why. But apparently it was a knockout, and the agent, who didn't quite sign him, said we could get this made as a movie, quicker than you can get it published as a book. So the agent sent it to Richard Matheson.
Yeah.
The great Richard Matheson, and which is Matheson's why
who was writing for Twilight Zone and all kinds of science fiction. And
I mean, his first screen
stuff.
credit was Incredible Shrinking Man, which was one of the superior sci-fi films of the 50s, which was based on his own novel. So, I mean, he did a lot of crap, too. I mean, his episodes of Lawman, he did 6 of those. I'm not sure if they were good, but, he did some crap, but he hit gold quite a few times. I mean, amongst his Twilight Zone episodes, I think 12, one was Terror at 20,000 Feet, which I believe is the William Shatner one, which is like one of the top 3 that's
the one that everybody remembers. And even in the Twilight Zone movie, that's the best episode in the movie that came out.
Yeah. So,
John Landis.
And his movie, I Am Legend, has been made into movies quite recent. Until recently, they did a Will Smith version, which I didn't care for.
Wasn't it Omega Man too?
Omega Man was the blaxploitation version of it, and I Am. I don't know what Last Man on the Earth starred Vincent Price, an American film shot in Italy, which may in some ways be the most accurate version of it. But that's Night of the Living Dead was based on I Am Legend too, Romero says.
Okay.
So I mean, that's a pivotal book, and it is a great book. I actually read the book. There has not been a movie version that has done the book justice yet. So that'll come out. So he's a great writer. The agent gives him the thing. He's like, this would be a great movie. So they start pitching it as a movie. Matheson writes the script, and originally it's tied up. It's an ABC movie. It gets Barry Diller at ABC, and the original producer, whose name eludes me,
Dan Curtis.
No, Curtis came in later.
Oh, he did.
So eventually, it starts getting made as a movie, and it starts looking good. And then they finally hire Jeff Rice. He gets representation, but he got to the party a little too late, and sadly, and I hate this, he got paid for it and everything, but he got screwed out of like future residuals, for sequels and all, which I'm sure Matheson got money for. So he didn't get any money for the sequel or for the series, if I'm not mistaken. So I feel bad for him. He was originally going to play a major role. He was going to be one of the doctors, I think the Larry Linville role in the film. Yeah. And but once this started getting some heat, they got sued by another writer named Whitten for a book, Prodigy of the Adder, which is essentially the same movie but set in Washington. But it's a updated vampire thing, and if you listen, there are a lot of... I plan to read that book. It has just been re-released. I was hoping it was going to be on Kindle, or I would have already bought it. But so that was a modern-day vampire story, and they got sued, and they were going to be sued, and they argued back and forth, and eventually, American International Pictures was the one who had bought the rights for Prodigy of the Adder or Viper, I can't remember which it is, and they eventually dropped their suit. But the irony is that API hired Matheson to write the screenplay for that movie that never got made. Okay. So he there was a lawsuit between the two films, and he wrote both of the scripts.
Oh, wow. All right, so get to the film. So
okay.
The film...
So because of all these lawsuits, the original producer got fired, and they brought Dan Curtis in. He had the opportunity to direct it. I believe he could have directed it if he chose to, but he didn't want to.
And he had been working on what?
Dark Shadows.
Dark Shadows, which is the vampire soap opera.
Yeah, the vampire soap opera. Right. And I will say, when I was a kid, I used to rush home after school to watch Dark Shadows. But I have recently seen some episodes of it, and trust me, it doesn't hold up.
Well, hardly any. Well,
but I'll tell you what, the movie, Dan Curtis directed 2 Dark Shadow films. The first one, House of Dark Shadows, which has the Barnabas Collins vampire story, like squeezed down to 90 minutes. That is a really terrific film. And if there are I love vampire movies, and there are 2 vampire movies that are like my wellspring, and that's House of Dark Shadows and Night Stalker. I think they're both terrific.
Yeah.
The second Dark Shadows film
the new one? One came out about
No. There was
ago?
It was House of Dark Shadows and Night of Dark Shadows, which was the Quentin Collins story. Okay. No one, it was not good. No one saw it.
All right, so Dan Curtis is producing Night Shadows guy. You know who this director is?
As a guy, Moxley, mainly a TV guy. Something, I forgot what his first name is, Llewellyn Moxley.
And a plethora of 70s actors.
Now, that
50s
is
and 60s actors, actually.
Yeah, the acting.
Simon Oakland, Ralph Meeker, Claude Akins.
Ken Smith.
Like you said, Elijah Cook Jr.
Yeah.
Larry Linville from MASH. I don't know. This MASH was...
No. He went from playing the boy coroner in this to MASH. Like
that very interesting shot right at the beginning of looking up from the dead body to the 3 doctors.
Yeah.
I mean, it was... Okay, so I watched it again last night.
Yeah.
And I remember as a child... This movie freaked me out. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of young dead women in this film that start right away. They're threatening. It's a real threatening film. I mean, it's creepy.
And the misogyny kind of it too. It's like when he's like Jane thing walking around, 5'2" and 122 luscious pounds.
She's laying dead on the ground.
Yeah,
he does describe one was 120 pounds, one was 110.
Yeah, and
blonde,
he's like
brown eyes.
Yeah. I mean, it was just
because he's narrating the whole thing. The movie starts with him narrating. This is a story reading into his tape recorder, that beautiful Sony that he carried everywhere. I heard something today, which is okay. I'll talk.
I know you would know the equipment.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at this giant recorder. He's got the camera strapped on his body and the giant recorder.
And he's taking pictures all the time.
He's getting to crime scenes before everybody.
Yeah.
And being able to walk around. So Darren McGavin really, I think, supposedly in the book he's a younger guy. He's not. Darren. I mean, he's not. He was probably 42 in this movie.
He's younger than us,
right? And he's an old man in those times.
Yeah.
And he's an interesting. I mean, the whole costuming with the hat and the suit and that was all him.
Yeah.
And
and he's wearing like an old suit. I think his rationale was there was a lot of fighting about the suit, and his rationale was this guy hasn't bought a new suit since he's been fired from so many
everywhere, right?
That he hasn't bought a new suit in years since he was fired from New York.
Yeah.
So he's really rumpled. Rumpled was good on TV. We had Columbo at the same time.
He had these white shoes, weird white shoes. I don't know. And of course the hat.
Yeah.
Which you can't even find. I mean, that hat costs a lot of money on eBay to buy now.
Yeah, and that's why one of the reasons why I'm wearing a hat.
Well, I think it's an homage to this. I mean, I was trying to get that hat, but it's just too Etsy, $130 on Etsy. Yeah. Someone's selling the whole costume for $130. You know,
I bet they can't get it in my size for that thing.
Probably not, but it's pretty interesting. So he comes up with this look for this guy.
Yeah,
and
he's always kind of slightly unshaved.
Someone described it. There's a podcast, a video podcast that was diving deep into the Night Stalker. Mm-hmm. And she was saying that basically he's an original superhero. Mm-hmm. You know, because he's driving around from place to place, causing trouble, wearing the same suit everywhere he goes. He even has, and Cara Lindley's in this too, right? Yeah. As his girlfriend, who is a sex worker, but they don't really say it until the very end.
Okay.
At the very end, they say she's a woman of ill repute.
They said she was an undesirable. Now,
and she's ironing his shirt. His shirt is off, and she's ironing his shirt. I mean, he's drinking a lot. Their relationship's interesting.
They have an interesting relationship. I think on somebody called it Friends with Benefits. But until I listened to the commentary track on the movie, I mean, I have seen this film. Like, you have films that you watch when you edit.
I do.
And I have films that I watch while I edit too, and this would be one of them. So I have seen this film a million times. And but I never watched it with the commentary track. I didn't feel I could learn anything in the commentary track. And it was a historian, not a participant. Though there were interviews with Moxley and Curtis. But she says she's a prostitute. And I'm like, what?
Well, that's what I thought she was. I didn't think, but
I assumed she was just a hotel, that she was just a
working a casino late at night.
Yeah.
Until the end when he says the line about but there's a scene where
I believe it. As soon as the person said it, I'm like, what? And then I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's 100%.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But I never just thought
he wants to marry her, right?
Yeah. Because it was so weird that because it's sort of like, what, you want me to quit? At one point, it's like, you want me to quit my job? Like, because she says he shouldn't be going out at night.
Right. And he thinks he's going to make it big with this story, of course.
And then when he marries her, offers to marry her, it's like a shock.
Yeah.
You know,
but I just love the scene where he's shirtless and she's ironing the shirt.
Yeah.
And she's the one that gives him the books on the vampires.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's the first one that says, this guy's probably a vampire. He's been saying it. He's trying to figure out what's going on. This guy's super strong. I don't understand. She's the one that says, I think he might be a vampire.
Yeah.
Right? She had a big pivotal role. And she's not anywhere in the series either. He doesn't have any relationship. He has a relationship with an older woman who's like works in his office. But nobody...
and we got to remember how hot...
I bought the whole series.
Yeah, we remember how hot Carolyn, she was at the time.
Listen, she was 1972 was also the Poseidon Adventure.
Yeah, but even before that, she was hot.
My first response to her was her mini pants in the when she's singing the morning after on the
yes, I remember,
because the other girl was in there too, the younger girl, but Cara Lindley was the one that. Yeah, I was just like, "Who is that?" That's
to me it was Shelley Winters, but I was a weird youngster.
Okay, well, you're a weird guy. Yeah. So she's in there too. But yeah, I watched it again, and like I said, it's so earnest.
Yeah.
And so there isn't they're not winking. They're not winking at you while there's no sarcasm. It is played straight.
Well, I mean, he's sarcastic with his people, but there's no sarcasm in the story.
No, the story is very straightforward, but he's everywhere. Like, he's interviewing the DA, and he's right up front with that giant tape recorder sticking in their face.
And that DA, doesn't he remind you of the mayor in Jaws?
Yeah, there's always that guy.
Yeah,
there's always that guy.
That
Claude
guy
Akins is the sheriff that that's got his beef against Kolchak, who's always there. Why are you always here ahead of everybody?
Yeah, Kolchak, what took you so long? I had a flat tire.
He's listening to the. But yeah, I just, and the vampire really didn't get super creepy until he goes in the house. That's what I remember as a kid. Was like once he got in that house, it's like, oh, game on right now. This is super creepy. Because the other stuff, it was,
Well, he killed the dog.
He killed the dog when it jumped on
You
him.
wouldn't have that. You wouldn't have that now.
No. Well, yes, you would. In a movie with a vampire, they definitely would take a dog out.
Oh, God, I don't know if they're going to kill a dog. They'll kill a child, but not a dog.
I know dogs are you can't do that. But
I just want to say that really, now Matheson may disagree, but everybody read the script once and it was the script, and everyone, Moxley, Curtis, everyone said they just read that script and they wanted to do the movie. That it was Curtis said it was the best script he'd ever read. And it was just, but Matheson says that everything that's in the script was essentially in the book. That what's his name had it all there. But I don't think there's one, because all I could think when I was watching the last couple times is that to me the father of screenwriting, especially for talkies, is a guy Ben Hecht. And he was a Chicago newspaper man, and he went to Hollywood, and he was the highest paid. He wrote on everything, the highest paid screenwriter in Hollywood. He wrote a biography later, and at one point, but he was the one who really kind of, with Raoul Walsh, invented overlapping dialogue, and he had these, like the front page was the thing that got him to Hollywood to play, about these cynical reporters viewing preparing to report on an execution.
Right.
And it was a comedy, and there's a lot of overlapping dialogue, and all the people are cynical newspapermen and all. And that's what I was watching this. I'm like, this is a modern Ben Hecht film. Well, of course, it's not a modern film anymore, but. And then at one point, Darren McGavin's talking about something like, and raise a toast. Maybe I should do this and raise a toast to Ben Hecht. And I'm like, oh my God, at least he acknowledges. I don't know whether that was in the book or whether that was something Matheson.
It's so cliche, though. It's so cliche. I mean, so this script was that hot.
That script was that hot
because the relationship between him and his editor, Simon Oakland, Vincenzo.
Yeah.
Was so like, and they actually spoof it in. Do you ever see Capricorn?
Capricorn 1?
Capricorn 1.
That was later. Was that
but I'm saying
Matheson?
Elliot Gould's relationship with his editor, his was sort of that thing.
I believe this movie came out first.
No, it did, 72. But I'm saying, I
yeah.
think maybe that was sort of I know it's a cliche that the reporter against the editor, that kind of thing. But this one hits 4 or 5 scenes.
Yeah.
Where Kolchak comes in with the thing, and Vincenzi's like, "No, you can't do this." But by the end of it, he's going, "You're the greatest reporter I've ever seen in my life." And
because he knows what's going to happen to him.
Right, he does.
It's okay for him to give him praise at the end because he doesn't have to deal with it.
Because they throw him out of the town. They get rid of his wife is gone. His fiancée, they get rid of her.
Yeah.
He's got that suitcase with his tape. Kolchak.
Now you see, like that's beautiful because when they would go someplace because all these reporters would have their portable typewriters with them, and you had to have your name on the thing because they all looked the same.
But it was in tape. It was like
it was on
tape.
I mean, those are the kind of beautiful touches. And one thing I enjoy more and more watching this film, is the locations, because I used to go to Las Vegas quite a bit with my wife, and we used to stay at the Fremont, which was in the film, and we used to play cards at the Golden Nugget, which you see. I mean, it
really does.
We used to play
Vegas a lot in this.
It's
especially
great old town,
great,
and also that car. I forgot what it was. I think it's some kind of
car.
Yeah, the Ford convertible, but. Unlike, even though it's a recent model, it's still rusty and looks like crap.
But he was driving it around, skidding and doing all kinds of crazy.
And that was another thing. This was pointed out, I think, in Mad Magazine, doing a thing about action shows in the '60s and the '70s. If the show was running short, they just put more shots of people driving. And then there were a lot of shots of him driving, so it made me feel that those shots are added.
I did read some stuff about this in the series, and they did say that they just drove him around and that they use those scenes over and over and over of his car pulling up against a curb or whatever. Yeah, so he spent a lot of time just shooting in that car.
Well, now they could extend that film 5 minutes with just driving shots.
Yeah,
and they don't need any of them if they don't need them.
Right.
You know, this is inside baseball talk for.
Well, I mean, yeah, but Darren McGavin. Let's talk about him for a second.
Yeah.
Because obviously this is when I first met Darren McGavin.
Yeah.
Not Christmas Story.
Yeah.
Which is another. What do you call it? A wellstone? What do you say?
Wellspring. Yeah.
Wellspring. It's like the movie that.
Yeah.
That's what Christmas Story was for me when I saw that, because I saw it when it was first run at a movie theater. Yeah. Nobody was seeing that movie. The kid's name is Ralphie in that.
Yeah.
But I fell in love with Darren McGavin.
Yeah.
Now, as a kid, obviously, because I watched the series when I was a kid too.
Yeah.
And his character, Kolchak, was super important to me.
Yeah.
And Darren McGavin as an actor, you know, when I saw him in Christmas Story, I'm like, oh, that's the guy from, you know, the Night Stalker and you know, Kolchak, the Night Stalker, which I think that's the name of the series, right?
Yeah.
This is called the Night Stalker, not Kolchak in front, just the Night Stalker.
It was going to be the Kolchak papers, the Kolchak tapes, but then the Anderson tapes came out. I don't know if you saw that movie with Sean Connery. Oh man, you haven't seen Anderson tapes?
I don't think I have.
Oh, you should. It's great. It's like an early Christopher Walken role in there too.
Okay.
You know,
cool.
So
I'll definitely
check it out.
But you know, he just was he was Darren McGavin, the guy, you know, and then I guess Chris Carter, who created the X-Files, was hugely influenced by the Night Stalker and the Night Stalker series. That he put Darren McGavin in what I just say? I just lost it. The X-Files.
And the X-Files,
Getting old sucks. But the X-Files.
Yeah.
And he put Darren McGavin in the show, and Darren McGavin wouldn't do it as Kolchak. He changed his name, whatever. But as an homage to the Night Stalker, he brought Darren McGavin onto the X-Files.
Well, it's interesting, some of the names, too, like the vampire, one of his aliases is Belasco, which is, they say, well, Bela Lugosi's, you know, real name was Balsko, so sort of like that.
Okay.
But if you look at the Matheson, which, you know, it's funny because you said bring two films. I was originally going to bring Doberman Gang, but it's really not readily available, and it looks like it's a terrible print if you want to get it on TV based on the trailer they were showing.
That's about a gang of Dobermans that rob banks.
Yeah,
right?
a guy who trains a bunch of dogs to rob a bank.
Cool.
It's a great movie. It's a great guilty pleasure. It's a film that should be remade because it has problems, but the problems could be easily overcome by maybe not having the director star in it, for one thing. Yeah, but the other two films I was thinking of, and there's an odd coincidence. One was going to be Duel, which was another TV. Once you said a TV movie was okay, I was thinking of Duel. And the other one, guilty pleasure, I always wanted to talk about was Legend of Hell House. But one thing I didn't realize about all three of those films all were scripted by Richard Matheson,
including Duel.
Yeah, Duel. He wrote the story and the script.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, I had no idea either until
Legend of Hell House is not the one that we watched. With
no, that was The Haunting.
The Haunting, right?
Yeah, Legend of Hell House is like, you know, The Haunting's all behind the scenes. Nothing really happens. Hell House is everything happens.
Right.
You know, and I'd love to see your reaction to it. You know, it's like Roddy McDowall and was like the big star. It's like, I watch that movie and I'm always like, is he the world's greatest actor or the worst?
He's in The Legend of Hell House?
Yeah, he's in The Legend of Hell House.
Everything.
Yeah. He was very popular then when he wasn't playing Cornelius. And
I got the Night Gallery series, and he's in a famous one in that about the cemetery or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Roddy McDowall was in everything in those days. But, all right.
And apparently he wrote a bunch of really detailed diaries filled with incredible Hollywood gossip that he said couldn't be published for like 30 or 40 years after his death. So hopefully when they come out, I'll still be alive to hear all this.
You keep saying that. I know you keep saying. Didn't that series that came out about the gas station prostitute boys? What was
that called?
I forget. It was
about that guy who's Scotty. His name was Scotty.
Yeah, who had the prostitution ring that everybody had.
But I think it covered other stuff.
I mean, what people? Okay, we're way old. I mean, we're 60s, right?
Yeah.
To explain that the impact that this movie movie of the weeks were hugely impactful back in our day, because like we said, we only had 3 channels. There wasn't a lot to do or watch. And it's got a 54 share, which tells you that a huge hit.
Yeah, half the people.
Very impactful in my life.
Yeah, and
I mean, and that scene at the end in the house where that vampire is just, and the other thing is all the vampire does in this movie is just throw people around. I mean, yes, he's sucking blood out of mostly women, right? It's all young women he's going after.
Can you blame him?
No, I understand, but I mean, he's just flipping cops around, and Kolchak gets tossed around until he pulls out the wooden stake and opens up.
Yeah, not all the action is as convincing as some of the.
No, it's not at all. That's what I mean. But
like in the hospital corridor and all, it's just like boom, boom.
Yeah, that's a funny. That's.
And then he throws the guy out the window, which is on a commercial break, I think.
Yeah. Fades to black. But that scene where he's stealing the blood out of the refrigerator and the nurse walks in, and I mean, yes.
Wait, can I bring up one point, because I'm sure my wife will want me to bring up this point. That always, in fact, I asked her if she wanted to watch this with me. She's like, Night Stalker, haven't we watched this before? I'm like, yeah, about 8 times, but she's like, it always bothers her that the blood is in the glass container. She's like, every time she sees it, she goes, that blood would just clot.
Yeah, I know. But they're giant, literally bottles of blood in the refrigerator.
I am sure they may have done that in the 60s before they switched over to another way of storage.
And I don't understand.
I think even in the World War II movies, they had it like
but he had the woman in the house.
Yeah. And he's filling her up with blood and taking it out. Yeah.
Is that what he was doing? He wasn't just drinking the blood out of the bottles. He would put it in her first and then suck it out of her neck?
Yeah.
That's what was going on?
Yeah. See, why would you do it any other way?
Well, why wouldn't he just go the blood? I mean,
I guess it had to be warm.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, God, this blood's cold.
That's what he was doing with her.
Yeah.
Did she ever get out of there?
It says he's looking for her at the end. He's putting personal ads in.
Now, is she the woman who shows up in the Night Strangler? Because Night Strangler connects to this one, which is a sequel to this.
I wanted to watch Night Strangler, and it's funny. I think one of the versions on YouTube is the one you were talking about.
It is. It's a creature feature.
Yeah, the creature feature one. It's 10 minutes longer than the movie.
Well, because they're talking. They break in between and they talk about the movie.
I wish I watched this on Blu-ray. I thought the Blu-ray was great.
Of the
Night Stalker, but I had a VHS which I couldn't find. It had Night Stalker and Night Strangler, and I was looking for my VHS. I can't imagine I'd give up that one. And when I went to Blu-ray, I ended up trading in a lot of my
really.
VHS.
But I think there's someone in Night Stalker.
Not VHSs, DVDs.
A character in Night Stalker ends up in Night Strangler as one of the helpers of whoever the Strangler or something. There's some crossover. I'll have to watch it to confirm.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that one again. So
that woman that's in the bed that he finds with the tape, the whole thing.
She
about the
disappears.
Tape falling up, we don't know what happens to her.
He doesn't know either. He's putting ads in the paper. She just disappears.
You mean on his trip out of Vegas to whatever?
At the end when he's talking about like things to consider.
By the way, I love his. This is the other thing. The room that he starts in the movie ends in.
Yeah.
With the one little tiny twin bed that he's sitting on.
And then the little refrigerator.
And the little refrigerator. It's like, oh my God, this is like a reporter's, the worst nightmare. And he's living it. Like, that's what made him. His suit could be wrinkled. It didn't matter. That's the whole. Like nowadays, he'd be in a fancy big apartment. You know how things are.
He'd be living where the friends lived, and
right, exactly. But this looked like a guy who had been fired from 17 jobs.
Yeah,
and was the nutball that's writing these crazy stories about crazy things that nobody believes, and he deserves to be.
Yeah.
So I just
and chances are, if someone published that book, wouldn't they come looking for him? The city of Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they threatened him with the warrant.
Yeah,
you're gonna get arrested from you. You killed a guy with a wooden stake through the heart.
Yeah.
So
Butcher
Claude Akins, the sheriff, was didn't like.
I think I liked it. I think this is my favorite role by Claude Akins, and I really like Ken Smith in it.
Come on.
Oh, come on. He was on everything.
He's on everything. I know. You can't. Who's Ken? Which one is Ken Smith?
The prosecutor. Ken Smith.
Oh,
the prosecutor. The
white-haired guy.
Yeah, it's like. Yeah, the white-haired guy who's the DA.
Oh, the DA. Okay.
Yeah. He's assistant DA. Why don't they just
Elijah
make him
Cook Jr. was the guy that, for me, he's been around forever. That guy.
Yeah. And they apparently got him because it's like, hey, wouldn't it be cool to have the guy from the Maltese Falcon in there? So he was apparently kind of an odd guy. He would appear in pretty much anything, but he was like living out in this could be wrong. I believe he was like living out in the desert and he didn't have a phone. So if you wanted to get him on something, you'd have to like drive out and give him
Sounds like Bill Murray. That's what Bill Murray does.
Yeah.
Bill Murray has no agent.
Yeah. He has a number that people want to know. And you call him.
If he picks it up, maybe he does your movie.
He leaves a message. He listens to the messages, deletes it, or calls you back.
Yeah, but this movie, when I watched it last night, is in its time. There's no question. It's in its time.
It beat out. It was the most when it came out. It was the most popular one. It beat out another one. I'm sure you saw Brian's song.
Oh my God, I wept like a baby.
Yeah, we all.
What do you
did.
mean it beat it out? It didn't.
It did better than
it did.
It did better in the ratings, and then the one that really the best, highest rated TV movie was Day After.
Oh yeah,
the nuclear war one.
Yeah.
Everybody watched.
But that was
one
later,
too.
right?
Yeah, that was in
79, 80.
That was like 83 or 82.
I just remember Mad Magazine.
Yeah,
did a spoof of ABC Movies of the Week, and they created a song called "Movies Tuesday Night."
Yeah,
you know, and that song is in my head because they were spoofing the fact that these crazy TV movies come out that everybody watched. But again, there was nothing else on. It wasn't what we're dealing with now, where you could just.
You know, one that I loved, and I couldn't watch it because it was on YouTube, and it was such a terrible quality. It looked like it was, VH. It was Haunts of the Rich and Famous. Did you ever remember seeing that one?
No.
It was like a fantasy. All these big stars, they go to this exclusive resort, and they're all there, and weird things are happening. And they all at the end, they discover that they're all dead and they're in hell.
Oh no!
Yeah, Haunts of the Rich and Famous.
Oh, I like that.
So it is available on YouTube. I just couldn't watch 90 minutes of that quality.
I certainly remember Brian's song for sure.
Yeah, and you remember Duel too.
And Duel, and this one, the Night Stalker,
and the sequel, which I think came out the same year.
It may have.
I don't know if Matheson wrote the sequel.
It may have. And Roots was a big, Roots.
Oh, Roots,
big television event.
Oh God, I was my sophomore year in high school or something.
Yeah.
And I remember there was some sort of like thing, and they let everyone go home. It was like some evening event at the school, and they let everyone go home because they didn't want anyone, because they knew everyone was going to leave to watch the Roots when that came on.
Right.
And Curtis did what was it, War and Remembrance? He did like two gigantic.
He did a lot of giant war films.
Yeah, miniseries.
Yeah.
And I was watching. I remember he did a version of Dracula starring Jack Palance.
That's a good one.
It's a good one, and I'm watching it now.
That's another very violent kind of, Dracula film.
But I tell you what I really liked about House of Dark Shadows, which was a theatrical film for MGM, is that it was real. Like Hammer horror films had like that really red blood as opposed, and House of Dark Shadows had that sort of really red, lurid blood, and the vampire gets killed with a crossbow and everything.
Yeah.
And, sorry, I'm giving it away, but come on. 1970, 1971.
I think everybody's fine.
Yeah, I think.
Well, again, we
50,
have as
53
many viewers as we had before, which isn't that many, but they're loyal.
Yeah, they're loyal.
They stick with us.
Stick with us and watch this movie. You can watch it for free on YouTube.
I mean, I'm telling you, the creature feature version is fun because the people in between are really getting into the whole creature feature. Because that's what we grew up watching too. Was those creature features on you said the UHF and the so it's fun.
You were in Boston.
So I was. Channel 38, Channel 56, we had all that. But the copy that's on YouTube, now I watched the 4x3 ABC version.
Yeah.
Not the high-end version they did on the creature feature. Because I wanted to get into that. And they actually have the ABC movie of the week thing flowing in front. And I like the commercial breaks because it made me feel like I was, back in the day. So it was fun to watch it that way, but they definitely have high-end copies of, because it's hard to find this movie. You said you had it on Blu-ray?
It wasn't. Yeah, I have a Blu-ray on it.
You should have brought it. I would have, transferred it over or something.
Oh, sorry.
No,
I owe you some audio equipment too. I'll bring that.
I have the whole Night Stalker.
Now the
series.
Night Stalker series is so hit and miss.
Of course it is.
Yeah,
of course it is.
Yeah, but the Twilight Zone was hit and miss too. But they had
all
more
hit
hits.
And miss. The Tales from the Crypt. I mean, the whole point is there's diamonds in each one of those, so you got to sift through it, and you just take what you take.
Yeah,
And I've gone down this rabbit hole of those shows. So I got the whole Night Gallery series now. I got the Tales from the Crypt series. This Twilight Zone that came out in the 80s, not the one that just came out with Jordan Peele, but the Twilight Zone. And you look at all these old. You look at all these old stars from early 80s that hadn't hit it big yet. Bruce Willis is in a few of those, and a couple other actors. That's what was fun about watching this one too, is seeing these guys who we grew up watching. Don't remember, like Larry Linville and Claude Akins and Ralph Meecher, right? I mean, that's an old film actor, isn't he? He's been around, he's done all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
He he crushed Kolchak too. He bailed on his friend.
Yeah.
They all did. So
but I also want to talk about the cinematography. What I like about the film is that it's I mean, they do the stylish vampire eyes shot, things like that are classic. They did that for Lugosi. But what I liked about it was that it was really kind of every day. You know what I mean? It wasn't like they only had 12 days to shoot the film or something.
The only trick shot I saw in the whole movie was the looking up at the doctors.
Yeah.
That's the only one that stands out as
like a
like trying something.
Yeah.
The rest of it is straight up 70s soap opera.
Yeah, which is good because it's sort of a vampire an average day. And the fact that the cinematography was not stylish.
Yeah, they didn't make a point to show off. Except for that one shot, which is one of the third shot in the film.
Yeah.
But the other thing they did very nicely is they did capture Vegas at night.
Yeah,
and
it was fantastic.
The alleys that these women are walking down were creepy.
Yeah.
And I think because I was 11 years old.
Yeah.
And you're watching this at night, it left an impression in there.
Yeah.
So it worked. I mean.
And one of the ladies was a lesbian. They sort of indicate.
Yeah, they did do that, didn't they?
Which is kind of odd for a 1972 mainstream.
What did they say? Oh, she's waiting for her friend.
And it's sort of like, I don't think, she dated guys that
she didn't like men.
Yeah, but I don't think she liked men.
Right. That's right.
The prostitute is saying.
Right, in that scene where
it's kind of daring.
The woman's daughter got killed.
Yeah.
And Kolchak has to go interview her, and he sticks the big Sony thing.
Yeah, he's so crass.
And he's flipping, like in the interviews, he's flipping the cassette over.
Well, here's a funny thing.
That's why I just love this film.
I mean, Vincenzo makes a really good point in the movie about, we don't want to freak the town out and this and that. And he's like, Kolchak, all you care about is a byline to get you out of here. And it really kind of strikes him when he says that, because it's so true, because that's all he's ever said.
He's trying to get the byline right. He wants to.
And then he's like silent for a moment. He goes, well, what does it matter what I'm trying to get out of it? You know, but it does make him think, like, why am I doing this? And which I think gives the character more, reality and a moral compass, or he's trying to consider his moral compass if he has one.
Yeah.
But one thing he's devoted to is telling the truth,
Right.
And this is news, and we are a newspaper.
Newspaper, right.
Yeah, everybody knows what's going on here except the people.
Right, but you're right. The DA is the mayor from Jaws, now that you bring it up, because he's like, I hear this is going on, but we have to worry about the stores and everybody, we can't have people freaking out that there's a vampire walking around. We got to get people in the casinos.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. So, all right. Well, that was good. I'm glad this was a fun one to talk to you about.
Yeah.
Because we're a man of a certain age.
Yes.
Who grew up watching stuff.
Who wear hats.
who wear hats. I mean, I wear it all the time on the show. This is the closest I can get to his hat.
Yeah.
Someday I'm going to get one of those, but we'll see.
You do have a T-shirt.
I do. It's Kolchak. I don't know. It says what?
Whistling, coffee, hat, typewriter, clock.
That's the open.
Fan. Yeah.
That is the open from the series opens with all this stuff.
Yeah.
You see all this stuff, but it came from this film. Yeah. And the thing that I didn't see in the series that I forgot about was how happy he was with Carol Lindley.
Yeah.
When he thought that his byline was going to make him famous again.
Yeah.
And now I can marry you and I'm going to have money. And he was so happy. And he didn't know what he was walking into until they closed the doors behind him and they stacked his equipment.
Yeah.
Right? And you see that typewriter with the tape.
Pick him up, Coach.
And you're like, oh, this guy. He doesn't even know.
Pick him up
He's out. He's
and
gone.
all of his possessions can be fitted in those three little suitcases.
I mean,
because if he had another suit, he would just fold it up.
How can you not love that guy? Because he just keeps doing it and doing it and doing it, no matter what's going on. So I just have a very kinship for this thing and this film.
It's sort of like us, Ralph, in editing.
I don't know. I can't take that much credit, but I just as a character, and this is why I loved him in A Christmas Story, and I just it's a meaningful movie in my life, and it's a good one to talk about. So I'm glad we did. So what do you think? What do you think of The Lounge? You like this?
I like The Lounge.
Okay.
I don't know. Is it okay to hook the camera?
To what?
Hook the camera.
What do you mean hook the camera?
Look at the camera.
Of course. The camera's up there. Don't look at the monitor. You look at the
camera.
Yeah,
I was looking at the camera.
You look up.
You know, my brother pointed out something to me. My younger brother. He said, watch a Western. The horses always look at the camera.
Really?
Yeah, they're always looking at the camera.
Because they don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and they're looking at the camera. So.
Let me ask
and
you
I watch it, and I see it. A lot of horses do hook the camera.
Have you seen any of the recent stretch of horror films that have come out lately? Like The Substance, like Strange Darling?
Well, my wife and I tried to go to The Substance at the Charles Theater in Baltimore, but we didn't realize there was a film festival going on.
Oh, wow.
So they didn't have any of their normal screenings. I did see, I've been obsessing about certain films. Like I was thinking of you, and it's probably why I'm here, is because for some reason I started watching Margin Call.
Oh, that's a great film.
I've watched Margin Call like 5 times over like 3
Those are my
nights.
favorite financial films because I don't know what the hell's going on and what they're talking about.
And just that like great scene when Jeremy Irons flows, and what a great star turn. You know,
that movie.
It's like he comes into the room and like he's God.
No, that movie's amazing. Margin Call and obviously The Big Short.
Yeah,
but Margin Call is sort of under the radar indie film.
We should have done that with Yippee-Ki-Yay because I could have brought the cinematographer, and he's a Baltimore boy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
DeMarco.
Well, that's amazing. They did that on
Frankie DeMarco
on a budget. I think Zachary Quinto financed that one or produced it or something.
Yeah, and gave himself a supporting role.
He was great, though. I mean, he was great. Yeah. All of those, that whole
everybody
cast.
was great in the film, despite the fact
Demi
that
Moore's
Kevin
in
Spacey
that one too. Speaking of The Substance, she was great. I mean,
I really wanted to see The Substance, but a recent horror film I did see was the new version of Salem's Lot. That's on.
Yeah,
Max.
did you like it? I didn't see it.
No,
really.
I mean, when I first saw the TV movie miniseries, with,
the one,
which
David
was
Soul.
Yeah, David Soul.
There's another one, right? With,
and this had James.
Rob Lowe was in the.
Yeah, it had James Mason as the vampire's human familiar. And Mason was just so oily. I guess it was near the end of his career, and he was so terrific.
Physically oily?
You know, I mean, his voice, you know, he's James Mason, you know what I mean? He's just terrific. But now that's like kind of unwatchable compared to to me, the David Soul version. And what I always liked about the book and the movies, because they were like always miniseries, is that you meet all these people in a town. And then you know, King used to do, I call him town killer books, where you meet all the people, then he kills them all, you know, like the whole town. And this one, they do it as one feature, and it's just.
I know, but I'm watching clips, and the crosses are like lit up, like lightsabers, and you know they're doing the same thing where guys
I don't
are floating outside
much.
Windows.
Yeah,
I mean,
some of those effects are good.
Yeah,
people being pushed up, you cross out, and they get thrown back against the wall, and they're like on the wall sliding across and everything.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of good stuff, but I don't want to give away too much. But, you know, there's so much involving a drive-in. You can tell that the guy's probably a person of our age or nostalgic for the old drive-ins and everything.
It's like what Twister did to the drive-in, too.
Yeah, you know. So, but I so wanted to like it, and didn't
quite make it, huh?
It didn't quite make it. I almost saw Smile 2 this weekend, but what I did see instead, we decided to take the grandkids to the movies, and Debbie wanted us all to see Wild Robot, the animated film.
I hear it's great.
I hear it's great too, but Claudia, my granddaughter, didn't want to see it. What she wanted to see was they brought out Hocus Pocus, the 90s film.
The original one?
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Yeah. They brought out Hocus Pocus, and so I decided to watch it. She's like, can I stay in Hocus Pocus? And can we go out? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll watch it with you. And it was so interesting. You know, it had that, you know, there's a certain cinematography that's associated with the 90s.
Yeah.
You didn't recognize it at the time.
I was just telling her, we just watched the movie with Anna Kendrick directed about the dating game thing.
Yeah, the dating game.
And they did some stuff in there where I go, oh, my God, that's like either 90s or 2000. The green, you know, the green.
Yeah.
Everything's green behind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay, 90s
you know, but
had a
so
vibe.
I like that,
vibe.
And it was like, well, Bette Midler is still well known, and Karen Nidget. You know, it's like Sarah Jessica Parker. It's like the names were familiar, and the younger people, and it was like all these people who were either becoming big stars or were big stars, but it's sort of like so many of them had just like completely faded away, and they're not relevant at all. And it was kind of sad to see that, but it was like, well, they all had their moment, and the picture worked pretty well. You know, I was I was glad I had never actually watched it. I didn't see it when it came out. It seemed like too much like when it came out, it seemed like too much of a kid's movie for me. That's the only genre I generally skipped. But it worked out pretty well. I was glad we saw it, but I do want to see The Substance. I know you did a review on it.
Well, we did a review of The Substance.
I didn't watch your review because I don't want to
watch
know
the
anything.
film first.
Yeah.
We did a review of Strange Darling,
yeah,
which is another great film. It's not really a horror film, but it's a psychological thriller. Mm-hmm. And we just watched In a Violent Nature, which is an independent film from Canada that's sort of an homage to Friday the 13th Part 2, but it's all taken from the killer's perspective, and they follow the killer. So the only dialogue you hear is as the killer walks past the cabin, and you hear stuff going on in the cabin, but as he walks away, the stuff fades away. It's a good. It was called an experimental film because you're watching this guy walk through the woods for 20 minutes in this film.
Yeah.
And the kills are just outstanding.
Yeah.
Just
well, there was a film that came out probably about 10 years ago, maybe 15. I know the name Vernon was in it, but it was like people doing a documentary about a serial, about it like a...
Is it Man Bites Dog or something?
No. But it's like, he's like a movie serial killer, and he's going to kill all these people at a camp, and they're doing a documentary, and then...
Yeah, okay.
I forgot what it was called. It was really good. And,
this one, I'm not going to say... I mean, Maria rated it a 1. Chris Coker rated it a 1. I put it at a 3 because I like what they were doing. It's a beautiful film, shot 4:3, shot on video. I think Canon DSLRs. But it's an interesting perspective.
It's
streaming right now. It's on Shudder. It's a Shudder. Okay. It's a Shudder.
I don't have Shudder. I would abandon some of my other platforms for Shudder.
Shudder's got a lot of interesting things. As a matter of fact, Substance was directed by the woman who directed Revenge, which was on Substance Shudder two or 3 years ago.
But you know what? I have not been liking the horror films I've been seeing in the theaters lately because, this is going to get me in trouble because I'm trying to suck up to these people. But all these like Blumhouse films, when Blum started, the films were really good. But now it's all budget. It's all like there are 8 people in the movie.
No, Blumhouse is going down. You know who's going up is A24.
Yeah, A24.
If it's an A24 film, you're guaranteed that it's going to be. Did you see Malignant or Maleficent?
Yeah, I saw it.
You did, where it comes out of the back of the head. Yeah, that was, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean the eight, and I liked Hereditary too.
Oh my god, well, that's in a whole
more so than the sequel.
There's a sequel to Hereditary.
Well, the guy's next film, Midsommar.
Oh, Midsommar was great.
Yeah,
not as good as Hereditary.
I just thought the people were so stupid in Midsommar. It's sort of like,
aren't all people stupid?
How many of your friends have to disappear before you realize something's going on?
If they didn't do that, there'd be the movie would be over in 5 minutes. So I mean, you can't even. But he's doing that. The guy is that
Aris.
No, that's Ari Aster.
Ari Aster.
No, the guy who did Witch has now got Nosferatu coming out.
Yeah, I do want to see that. Didn't he do the Mermaid? Didn't he do the Lighthouse movie too? The guy who did Witch.
Lighthouse.
Oh,
yeah. So, all right, Sean. Fantastic. I enjoyed having you come to the lounge. What? We do ratings. I mean, okay, it's from 0 to 5.
5 being the best.
5 being the worst. We're going to do opposite. Yeah, 5 of course is the best.
Yeah.
So this is the Night Stalker. What do you give it? 0 to 5?
I have to give it a 5.
Yeah, no kidding. Why would?
Not only would it give it a 5, I would give it a 5 for nostalgia only.
Of course,
but it's a great movie anyway.
Now, could you show that to a 24-year-old?
I think so.
And they would think it's a 5? No.
I don't know. I can't show it to my grandkids because they won't watch horror films.
First of all, it's too long.
Yeah. It's 90 minutes.
Yeah, too long. Too long. It's not a minute and a half. The Exorcist is boring to people.
Did you see that new version of Rosemary's? Is it out yet? It's not
no,
called
but it's supposed to be pretty
Rosemary's.
good. It's Apartment 1 something. It's Apartment.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a prequel to Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah. What else I was going to say? I'm trying to show my 6-year-old grandson Tarantula. With Leo G. Carroll and all from 56 or something. Yeah. And he's just scared because he was saying he's scared of spiders. I go, well, here's a film that will help you.
Yeah, I've stopped trying to suggest to my although Bella gets it. Max is 31 right now.
Yeah.
And he was early horror movie with me. Like he would dive in. But when I tried, I showed a group of my daughter's age. It's probably when they were 15, 16, The Exorcist. And they're like, yeah. So, I mean, this is old
Exorcist,
people. This is old people. Get off my lawn. We shouldn't be saying this.
Well,
I mean,
Exorcist to me, well, I didn't like it when I first couple times because I thought it was all just cheap shock scares. It wasn't until I learned to appreciate the characters and the stories as I got older. And now it gets better every time I see it. But
I appreciate that one for me as the director on that one. So
yeah.
All right. Well, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Thanks for coming by.
Glad to be here. Part of the
look at that camera, not the monitor camera.
Glad to be here.
And let's do it again. Bring the Doberman gang. I want to.
Yeah, have you seen the movie yet?
I have not.
Okay, well,
a bunch
we
of
were
dogs
probably
that rob banks. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it literally is the best film ever about dogs robbing.
Is it the only film ever?
I think there's a cartoon where the bad guys or something where the guy's a dog.
Right.
This is real dogs.
All right, well,
and it has an Academy Award winner in it.
Who's that?
Alan Silvestri.
I know
the cinematographer. The composer.
Okay,
he wrote the theme song.
Okay,
we're the doggonest gang that you will ever see.
Is it a comedy or is it serious?
No, it's a deadly. It's a heist film. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah,
well, you have
with
to bring
dogs.
That. You have to bring that. So
we will bring it. I will watch it. I will watch even a crappy print. See, the thing is, I have a film print, a 16 millimeter film print, but there is so much crap in my basement that just to get to the closets.
Can we find it anywhere? Does it exist on Blu-ray or DVD?
It doesn't exist on Blu-ray. I'm not sure it exists on DVD at all.
So
it was on VHS.
YouTube, anything? I'll have to look it. I'll look it up. I'll find it. I'll find it.
It is available. It is available on cable.
Here's what we do at the end. We toast. Grab your tea. Thanks for coming.
Yeah,
appreciate
sorry,
it.
I just hit the microphone.
No worries. Ready? 1, 2, 3, toast.
Yeah.
All right. Ooh, that was a good one.
To Ben Hecht.
That's good. Ben Hecht.